Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive.
It's good to be back.
Yes, we are definitely alive. I know, it's been over 2 weeks. A tragic silence, really. So first off, apologies for that unexpected break, dear listeners.
We really do appreciate you hanging in there with us. It wasn't planned, but sometimes life happens.
Absolutely. And the official reason, well, our fantastic producer, FireflyHaku, was undertaking a massive move, relocating all the way from Asia back to North America.
Yeah, imagine the logistics. Probably more cables than clothes in those suitcases.
Probably. But the good news is he's settled, he's found the microphone, the editing suite is humming, so we are back. And hopefully stronger than ever.
Ready to bring you those sharper takes and stranger history we promised. Plenty of FireflyHaku's editing magic, too. We really hope the wait was worth it for you.
Today we're plunging deep. We're going back to early medieval history, specifically to celebrate a king who honestly gets overlooked way too often, Æthelstan.
Æthelstan. It feels like someone had to actually, unite the place before it became fodder for screaming dramas.
Exactly, and the timing couldn't be better. This very month, September 2025, is the 1100th anniversary of his coronation.
Which is amazing when you think about it. Here's a ruler who was a genuine superpower in his day, known across Europe. Yet now, he's often described as a remarkably mysterious monarch, kind of sidelined by history.
It's a total paradox, isn't it? So our mission today for this deep dive is to unpack that. How did the man who literally put the pieces together to make England, become so forgotten?
What did the sources tell us? What's missing?
Yeah.
And, why did this foundational figure just sort of fade from popular view?
Okay, let's dive in. But first, that name, Æthelstan. It can look a bit intimidating.
Right. Quick pronunciation note for everyone. It's like the A in cat. So, Æthelstan.
Æthelstan.
Got it. Æthelstan. Okay, let's unpack his rise, the unification.
Yeah.
This wasn't some overnight thing, was it? It built on what came before. Let's start with his grandfather. You really have to start with Alfred the Great. He's the name everyone knows, isn't he? Famous mostly for fighting off those Viking invasions in the late 9th century.
Right, the cake burner.
Well, maybe more than just the cakes. He ruled from Wessex, down in the south, but crucially, he extended his influence north into Mercia. He kind of laid the groundwork.
So Alfred secured the base, but it was Æthelstan's father, Edward the Elder, who really went on the offensive, the expansionist.
Absolutely. Edward took Alfred's foundation and built aggressively on it. He conquered East Anglia from the Danes, pushed the kingdom's influence right up to the River Humber.
And he had this new military strategy, didn't he? Something about forts.
Yes. The fortress towns, or burhs as the sources call them, this was pretty revolutionary for the time.
Okay, wait, let's pause there. Because fortress towns sounds a bit dry, but you're saying they were a game changer. How did they work?
They really shifted the dynamic. These burhs weren't just walls for people to hide behind. They were permanent, strategically placed garrison towns. They were offensive tools.
Offensive? How so?
Well, when Edward moved into contested land, he didn't just raid and leave. He'd build a burh. Establish a permanent military and administrative base right there.
So secure the ground, then project power from that secured point, control the territory.
Exactly. It meant when he took land, he kept it. It allowed for consolidation, administration, even economic control from these fixed points. So by the time Edward died in 924 AD, he wasn't just King of Wessex, he held the title King of the Anglo-Saxons. The stage was definitely set.
But the handover wasn't smooth. Æthelstan, born around 894, takes over in 924. But there was drama, right? Instability.
Oh, definitely fragile. And the sources are frustratingly vague here. There's a strong suggestion that the kingdom might have initially split. Æthelstan got Mercia, maybe, while his half-brother Ælfweard got Wessex.
That sounds like a recipe for civil war.
It could easily been, but then Ælfweard died, just like that, within about a month of his father.
Huh. Do we know?
We don't. Natural causes, foul play, an accident. The sources just go silent on the details, which, only adds to the mystique or maybe the suspicion around Æthelstan.
But the result was Æthelstan became the sole ruler.
Swiftly, he consolidated power and was formally crowned king in September 925 AD.
And right away, he showed he wasn't just about force. He was a clever political player, too, using marriage as a tool.
Ah, yes. This is the move that really seals his claim as the first king of England. In 926, just a year after his coronation, he arranges this really significant marriage. He marries off his sister to Cake.
The Viking king of Northumbria. That's bold.
Extremely bold. Northumbria was the last big, independent, and very volatile piece of the puzzle up north. So this marriage was a major diplomatic play.
Buying peace with a wedding, did it work?
Well, yes and no. It bought time. But only about a year later, Sihtric the Viking king died.
Again, another convenient death.
Again, the sources are silent on the cause. Convenient? Perhaps. But what's clear is the result. Æthelstan didn't hesitate. He marched north and took direct control of Northumbria in 927 AD.
Wow. So that's the moment? Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria all under one ruler.
That is absolutely the birth certificate of England as a unified kingdom. It's seen as the key moment. He wasn't just king of the Anglo-Saxons anymore. He was king of England. Rex Cotius Britannia, king of all Britain, as some coins proclaimed.
Bringing a unity not seen since, well, Roman times, really.
Pretty much. And yes, it was partly driven by the need to unify against those ongoing Viking threats. But let's be honest, it was also driven by Æthelstan's own ambition. He wanted to extend his authority.
But holding on to it is another matter. He had to defend this new kingdom. Which brings us to a rather famous, if slightly mysterious, battle.
Brunanburh, 937 AD. Absolutely crucial. This battle proved his unified kingdom wasn't just a political idea. It could withstand a massive challenge.
Who was he fighting?
A huge coalition. Vikings from Dublin, led by Olaf Guthfrithson, King Constantine II of the Scots, and Owain of Strathclyde, the Welsh kingdom there. A major alliance aimed at breaking his power.
And he won.
Decisively. A bloody, hard-fought victory. We don't know the exact location, maybe somewhere in northwest England, but the outcome reinforced his dominance over the whole island.
Okay, so he unites the island, defends it with force. But then the narrative shifts, doesn't it? Suddenly we hear about his court, his style, this cosmopolitan flair. How does that fit with the warrior image?
That's what makes him so interesting. They're two sides of the same coin. And this is where we really need to challenge those old myths about early England being, isolated, backward, purely Anglo-Saxon.
The idea that it was just this homogenous island cut off from Europe, that still pops up today, doesn't it?
It really does. But the evidence from Æthelstan's time paints a completely different picture. His England was outward-looking. It was actually a very diverse place in the early 10th century. Sophisticated, connected.
Which connects to this debate scholars are having now about terminology, right? Moving away from Anglo-Saxon.
Exactly. There's a conscious shift towards using early medieval England instead.
Why the change? What's wrong with Anglo-Saxon?
Well, the term Anglo-Saxon itself isn't inherently bad, but over time, particularly in recent decades, it's been co-opted by certain groups, especially on the far right.
To push an idea of a pure, racially homogenous past.
Precisely. It's used to evoke this false, one-dimensional image of 10th century England that just doesn't match the historical reality. The term early medieval is more neutral and, frankly, more accurate in reflecting the complexities of the period.
So what evidence do we actually have for this diversity in Æthelstan's court?
You just have to look at who was there. His royal assemblies, these big gatherings, weren't just nobles from Wessex and Mercia. You had figures from other kingdoms within Britain, Welsh princes, for example, and people from mainland Europe, too.
So multiple languages being spoken.
Definitely. You'd have heard Old English, of course, but also Old Welsh, Old Norse from the Viking influences, and Latin, the language of the church, and international diplomacy. It was a multilingual environment.
So he wasn't just uniting Britain internally. He was actively plugging England into the wider European network. A proper foreign policy.
A very coherent one, far beyond what Alfred had managed. Think about those marriages again, not just the Northumbrian one. He married off several of his half-sisters to the most powerful ruling houses on the continent.
Whereabouts?
To the king of West Francia, that's basically France. To Otto, who'd become the Holy Roman Emperor in East Francia, or Germany. To the king of Burgundy. He was strategically linking England to the European power structure.
So England wasn't isolated at all. It was a major player.
He made it one. And he encouraged European scholars, intellectuals, and churchmen to come to England. He fostered these connections. It was about projecting power, yes, but also building cultural and intellectual prestige.
Okay, which brings us back to the big nagging question. If he did all this, unified the country, won major battles, connected England to Europe, ran a diverse court, why isn't he as famous as Alfred? Why the historical eclipse?
Well, part of the immediate answer lies in what happened right after he died in 939 AD.
It fell apart.
Not completely, but it's fractured.
Hmm.
Northumbria, always the tricky part, broke away again almost immediately. It showed the fragility, perhaps, of what he'd built, how much relied on him personally.
Okay. If it fragmented so quickly, does that weaken his claim to being the creator of England? Was it just held together by his force of will?
That's a really important question. And yes, it highlights that fragility. But, and this is crucial, the idea of a single English kingdom survived. The southern kingdoms, Wessex and Mercia, stayed united, and Northumbria was brought back into the fold permanently from 954 AD onwards.
So he set the precedent, the blueprint.
Exactly. He created the template. His successors might have struggled initially, but they worked to restore his unified kingdom. The idea had taken root. But still, he gets overshadowed.
By Grandpa Alfred.
Overwhelmingly. He was eclipsed by Alfred the Great. And the main reason? Sources. It really comes down to the sources.
How so?
Alfred had a contemporary biographer. A Welsh monk named Asser wrote the life of King Alfred. It's detailed, it's personal, it gives anecdotes. It makes Alfred feel like a real person to historians and readers.
So Alfred basically had better PR because his biographer's work survived. Is it that simple? How much difference does a biography make compared to, say, government records?
It makes a huge difference in terms of popular memory and even historical narrative. Æthelstan lacked that major contemporary biography. Now, we know one existed.
Oh, how do we know?
Because a later writer, William of Malmesbury in the 12th century, refers back to a specific, detailed 10th century account of Æthelstan's life and reign. But that original text, it's lost.
Gone. Just vanished.
Vanished, lost to time, maybe a fire, a flood in a monastery library somewhere over the centuries. We just don't have it.
So instead of stories and personality, we're left with what? Legal documents?
Pretty much. Efficient governmental records, actually. Because Æthelstan's reign saw a big step up in centralized administration, we have lots of diplomas, land grants, essentially writs, legal codes, records of agreements, very important for understanding how the kingdom worked.
But not exactly thrilling bedtime reading.
No, as one historian aptly put it, these are invaluable, but they're not as much fun as a rip-roaring history that gives you a biography of the individual. Æthelstan got the efficient administration. Alfred got the narrative flair.
What a historical irony. The quality of his governance means his administrative records survive, but the personal story that might have cemented his fame is lost. Still, even without that biography, we get glimpses, don't we? You mentioned he cared about his image.
Hugely. He was very conscious of kingship, of style, of how he was presented. Look at his coins, the titles he used, the way he ran his court. He was actively defining royal power, establishing central oversight. He was an image maker.
Building the concept of what it meant to be King of England.
Absolutely. And laying down structures and traditions that lasted.
Like the coronation ceremony, you're saying parts of that go all the way back to him.
It's incredible, isn't it? The continuity is enormous. If you watch the coronation of King Charles III in 2023, many of the core elements, the prayers, the rituals like the anointing with holy oil, the actual crowning moment, the structure of that service, known as an ordo, is recognizably the same as the one used for Æthelstan back in 925 AD.
1,100 years of continuity. That's staggering. He literally set the template for the monarchy.
He did, the constitutional and liturgical template.
And thankfully, despite the lost biography, we do have one image of him, right? A contemporary portrait.
Yes, it's a precious survival. The earliest known manuscript portrait of an English monarch presenting a book.
What does it show? What's the image he's projecting?
It's in a copy of Bede's Life of St. Cuthbert, now at Corpus Christi College, Cambridge. It shows Æthelstan wearing his crown, presenting the book itself to the long-dead St. Cuthbert, who represents the church and the north. He's bowing slightly, showing piety, but he's crowned, holding a book symbolizing learning and law. It's this blend of authority, piety, intellect, a very carefully constructed image.
It really captures that blend you were talking about, the warrior, the diplomat, the scholar, the pious ruler.
Exactly how he wanted to be seen, I think.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We have Æthelstan, military powerhouse, ambitious unifier, canny diplomat, established a diverse, outward-looking court, cared about image, set the template for the English monarchy, but ends up as a historical footnote, mainly because his grandfather had a better biographer whose work survived.
That's a pretty good summary, unfortunately. It really underscores why we need to sometimes look beyond the most famous names like Alfred to understand the real origins of things. Æthelstan's achievement in uniting England and defining its kingship was, frankly, astonishingly precocious for the early 10th century.
He built the stage, even if someone else gets more applause. A huge takeaway. Okay, time for that final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to mull over.
Let's hear it.
Right. Given that we've seen how Æthelstan's 10th century England was far more diverse, complex, and internationally connected than the later myths of a simple, homogeneous Anglo-Saxon origin story allow. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other national origin stories or other historical periods we tend to think of as monolithic or one-dimensional might actually be built on similarly flawed myth-making foundations, perhaps shaped by which documents just happen to survive?
Ooh, that's a good one. How much of our understanding of the past is just down to the random chance of manuscript survival? A profound question indeed.
Something to think about as you search for your next deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us. We are definitely back.
We'll talk to you next time.